Hey guys, how are you doing? This is Rob of Rule of Two Review. Welcome back to the channel. And today I want to discuss this crazy controversy about Death Stranding, Geoff Keighley, and the Video Game Awards. So this situation is definitely blowing up quite a bit, and I feel like I'm going to have a unique kind of perspective and a unique opinion on everything going on here. But the main crux of it, as we all know, is just yesterday. The Game Awards did finally announce all of the nominations for the show, which happens on December 12th, so just about three and a half weeks from now. I discussed it. I made like a 20-minute video going over my opinion on the Game Awards, and of course on all of the nominations and whatnot, and it's an exciting time. I mean, as I said yesterday, I'll say it again, I enjoy the Game Awards, not because they're like the greatest thing, and they're not always handled the best, but just in general, the fact that, you know, every December we all get together and watch this 2 or 3 hour show, and we just talk about video games, we see awards for video games, we see new trailers, and it's like, you know, it's not the greatest thing, but I don't think it's really harmful. It's just a bunch of fun. And so it is the time for all of this stuff to be happening. And so I'm very excited in what's going to go down. But of course, with the announcement of all of the nominations yesterday comes a little bit of controversy that a lot of us kind of saw coming that revolves around Death Stranding, because we all know Death Stranding was made by Hideo Kojima. We know that Hideo Kojima and Geoff Keighley, who is behind everything about the Game Awards, are very close. They're very good friends. Geoff Keighley has been a huge supporter of Kojima after everything went down between him and Konami, which is honestly like a good thing. Like, at its most basic level, that's a good thing, because that whole situation did suck and was unfair to Kojima. And it was great to see a public figure like Geoff kind of supporting him. I think that that was a good thing. Keep in mind, I say that as somebody who is not a big Kojima fan. I mean, as I've said before, I have nothing against the guy. I think that he's probably great for what he does, but I'm not a fan. I've only played the first Metal Gear Solid, you know, both PlayStation 1 and Twin Snakes versions, and that's it. So I'm not some diehard Kojima fanboy, but I did feel bad for what happened to him, and I like the fact that he got some support. But of course, Death Stranding released just a week or so ago, and a very polarizing release. It got some really great reviews and some great scores and great reception, and then it got some mediocre reception, and then it got a tiny bit of really bad reception. So the game came in and was all over the place. Reviews were all over the board. There was no one general consensus. It's not this amazing masterpiece. It's not this garbage train wreck, garbage fire. It's just kind of like a pretty good game to a lot of people, and that was it. Also, the game does feature Geoff Keighley as a cameo within the game, and so everyone thought that was kind of funny. Oh, haha, the Geoff Keighley and Hideo Kojima love fest continues, isn't that cute, blah, blah, blah. And then we moved on. But of course, the nominations come, and Death Stranding got the most nominations with either 9 or 10. I've seen conflicting reports, and I haven't counted myself, but it's about 9 or 10 nominations, and that's a lot. And that, of course, does also include Game of the Year, and considering the fact that the game sits at like an 83 or 84 on Metacritic, and some people want to spin that as a terrible Metacritic score, which it's definitely not, people are upset about the fact that this game is included, and they're crying foul. They're saying there's special attention being given to the game, and it's just this whole conspiracy about Geoff Keighley and Kojima. And so here's the thing. How do I feel about this? Well, I've been sharing my opinion on Twitter a little bit about this as well. I don't really see the nominations for Death Stranding to be a huge deal. I do think it maybe has too many nominations. I mean, it feels weird to think with all the great games that came out this year, you know, games like Fire Emblem and Resident Evil 2 and Sekiro and Gears of War 5 and so many different games, that of all the games to have the most nominations, Death Stranding being that game is a little bit weird and a little bit unfortunate, I guess I would agree. However, I don't really see it to be a huge problem, and I'll tell you the reason why. It's because I really like Death Stranding. Yes, me, somebody who is not a Hideo Kojima diehard fanboy, I think Death Stranding is actually pretty darn good. In fact, I actually paused my playthrough of the game to come and record this video about this topic, because I am playing it. And I really like the game. It's not perfect, and the beginning was very, very hard for me to get through, but once I got over that hump, I have fallen in love with this game, despite its few flaws. And so, as somebody who's a fan of the game, it's like, it's a game I really like, it's got a bunch of nominations, that just is what it is. The Game of the Year nomination, that's trickier, because that's the thing that's really setting everyone off, and everyone's really upset about it. How do I feel about that? Well, honestly, I also don't even necessarily mind that it's nominated for Game of the Year because I like it, but I will say, at the end of the day, this game should not win Game of the Year. Yeah, believe it or not, even as a huge fan of the game and somebody who personally wouldn't be very upset or offended if it was the Game of the Year, I do have to say the overall optics of it and looking at the situation at large, I think that if it actually wins Game of the Year, then we might get into a little bit of a favoritism scenario. I don't personally see the nomination of Game of the Year as a favoritism situation because there's a lot of documentation of Geoff Keighly and people coming out saying, hey, Geoff Keighly, don't decide the nominations. We have a committee of 80 insiders within the industry, and they do that, and then the fans vote on the games and whatnot. So I don't necessarily see right now a situation where Geoff Keighly, who was in his friend's game, as having kind of, manipulated and greased the wheels to get this game all these nominations and then to get it to win Game of the Year. I don't personally see that. I have a very serious conspiracy brain. I see conspiracies everywhere I go, but this situation so far has not been setting off any red flags in my conspiracy-laden brain that that's what's going on. But when we factor in everything about this game, the polarizing nature, the, mediocre reviews and Metacritic score, and the fact that Geoff Keighly is in the game at the end of the day for sure, if the game wins Game of the Year, then I think there might be something going on. Just the nomination does not make me feel like something fishy is going on. If it goes that extra step into winning, people are going to have to be a little bit like, what the hell is going on? But I'm not really worried about it right now. I'm really hoping that everyone out there who's losing their minds and losing sleep and is so personally offended by the Game Awards nominations, and specifically the Death Stranding thing, I'm really hoping that this kind of conversation can somehow prove helpful or maybe even educational and enlightening to some of those people. To hear somebody who's a big fan of the game, but is also not a fan of Kojima, saying that it's okay that it's nominated, but it definitely shouldn't win. I think that there would be way too much foul play going on if the game actually wins Game of the Year. And it's for that reason that I'm going to tell you right now, I don't expect the game to win Game of the Year. When you look at the fact that games like Smash Brothers and Sekiro and Resident Evil 2 are nominated for Game of the Year, I cannot envision a world where more people are going to vote for Death Stranding to win than for one of those games. It makes no sense. I think the best shot goes to Resident Evil personally. That's what I would put my money on, is Resident Evil. But anything I think other than Death Stranding could win. And so I really think it was just important for me to say that I don't mind the fact that it was nominated for Game of the Year, fan of the game or not. I think that that's fine. I think that right now the Game Awards are harmless. They're just for fun. People all year will bitch and moan about how the Game Awards are stupid and they don't take them seriously. But then as soon as nominations come out that they don't like, suddenly everyone's crying and up in arms about it. And so I just don't see any consistency, man. It's like, pick a side and at least stick to that damn side. If you want to fence it, then at least fence it. But people aren't fence sitting. They're saying it's dumb and so they don't mean anything, but then they get mad when something like this happens, and it's like, okay, you're just you're cherry picking when something is important and when it isn't, just so you can maybe have the right to feel outraged over something. I just don't really like that, man. But I do think it's important to at least say, as I've stated in this video, the game definitely shouldn't win, and I don't expect it to, and so I guess it'll just be interesting to see how it all plays out. Like I said, the Game Awards, they're just what they are. It's just a fun show for a couple of hours to celebrate gaming. So let's just kind of wait to see what happens. And I'm telling you, I bet we're not going to see Death Stranding win Game of the Year, which means this whole freaking conundrum and situation will have been just everyone's big waste of time. So that's really all I have to say about that. What do you guys think? How mad at you are Death Stranding and Geoff Keighly, or how not mad are you at them? And just what do you think about the Game Awards and this whole weird situation? Do you think there's a conspiracy going on, or do you think that people are maybe blowing it out of proportion and overreacting right now like I do? Share what you think below, and with that, this video is a wrap. Thanks, of course, as always, for tuning in. This is Rob of Live to Review, and I'll catch you next time on another video.